And welcome to Small Business Today Magazine Talk Show
on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.
And I'm Steve Levine. I'm Executive Publisher of Small Business Today Magazine.
And Barbara Davis-Veen, Associate Publisher, Creative Director, and Head Writer of Small Business Today Magazine.
And we are fortunate enough to co-host this show every Monday, Wednesday,
I'm
and
fortunate
Friday.
if I'm here. I don't like you here.
Well,
I want to just host
I
it.
tried to leave you behind.
I
but it
try
didn't
and
work.
leave you,
kept
but
coming.
you keep coming back.
You kept running after the car.
Following the breadcrumbs.
Anyway, but we publish Small Business Today Magazine and do this show in tandem. The publication is solely dedicated to aspiring entrepreneurs and small business owners with the mission of educating, motivating, inspiring, and empowering you to build big business success. You know, the term small business really is a misnomer. It's not based on income, it's based on number of employees, 500 employees or less. And 6 million out of 7 million businesses in the U.S. are categorized as small business.
It's the number one employer. Small business is the number one employer.
Collectively, the nation's largest employer, and collectively the nation's largest taxpayer, and literally the rock-hard foundation of the economy of our country. And that's what we're founded on. We're founded on
Put the mic in front of your mouth.
Shopkeepers and
Move the mic.
craftsmen and farmers and street merchants. So anyway, so that's a little about small business and why we focus on it with our publication and our radio show. My folks were lured into a family business. You probably heard me say this by my dad's parents, my grandparents, with the promise of college educations, which never came through. My mom and dad had their own aspirations and their own dreams, but and then just couldn't leave that family-owned business that the community depended on.
And I've always done small business. I've always wanted to be my own person. I worked 1 year today for an insurance company, and I said, this is not for me. I don't like reporting or having people to tell me what to do or supervisors. And I'd always been making money on my own. From the time I was in 6th grade, I had my own little businesses going, buying and selling things to my friends. And used to be the standard question is, what are you selling now, Barbara? And I mean, I sold rat finks that were in gumball machines. They weren't in my neighborhood, and I made $5 a week, and that was like in 1963. Then I go further down. I found pocket watches in my attic. It was my grandfather's, and I sold old pocket watches and magazine subscriptions. It was all these things at the back of the comic books to do, and I was always selling everything. Then I was the first person selling new clothing at the Common Market in Houston. My late husband said we were short on money, so I came up with that idea. And
we always ask, is entrepreneurship something you're born with? It is like a gene.
I think it's not a gene.
Or something that,
I think it's necessity.
You have a role model and you want to be like them. That's more of the story.
You know,
right?
I think, okay, there has to be a desire. If you're not a motivated individual, you have to be somebody that's self-motivated. That you can't be taught to be self-motivated.
Right.
You have to have a strong enough desire or passion of what you do. That has to be innate within you. If you don't have strong convictions, if you don't have strong beliefs, nobody's going to be able to put that in you. But learning how you can have strong convictions, you have strong beliefs, but you could be a lousy business person, and then you need to know how. I watched the Shark Tank, and these people had a really good idea, but it started when they had children that were a little bitsy, and fast forward, they're still working on their business, and it's like 20 years have passed, they still haven't gotten it off the ground. And that shows that they have the drive, they have the desire, but they don't have the wherewithal, and that's
get in the way.
But that's it. They don't have the wherewithal, and they need to take these classes that are offered. That's the beauty. They weren't offered when I was in school, how to be an entrepreneur. Now you've got programs at
University of Houston, which is a pilot program, and now 4,000 other business schools have adopted this. And it was originally the University of Houston board that said, nobody is interested in taking an entrepreneur class, and entrepreneurship is something you're born with. And that's where I got, and that was from Bill Sherrill. One of our board members.
That was the founder.
And was turned down several times about having this entrepreneur program at University of Houston. Now it's the model for all these other schools and programs. So, but let's talk about the magazine real quick, about our role with the magazine and talk show is to educate, motivate, inspire, and empower you to
The small
achieve your
business
dreams
owner or
of big business success.
Well, you're saying it's people that are going into business.
You, the audience.
Of the people
Those
in
are
business
interested,
or people going into business.
Absolutely. And the centerpiece of the magazine is a cover story.
That's right.
That we just got done with a cover photo shoot, right?
Today.
Adroit Partners and
Adroit
Partners, right? And that's Dee Dee and Christy.
That's right.
Great ladies, and to be on the cover, you're going to be nominated by one of our board members, advisory board
Not
members,
B-O-R-E-D.
and voted on, right, by the 10 or 12 that I choose at random of the 35 advisory board members. And the criteria has more to do with one's generosity and their philanthropy.
And starting with nothing and building something.
And a great story that inspires others, and started without the help of a franchise or licensee scenario. So it's a great success story, and at the last page
is the takeaway notes. And it's something, if you don't want to take the time to read how they got to where they got, but their best words of advice, it'd be no different than you taking someone that you admire and respect in their business acumen and getting them to share with you their best words of advice or words of wisdom. And so that's what the last page of every story, cover story, is about. And it's something that I believe that anyone can go to our archives and look at the best words of advice after the end of each story and make a compendium of business. Because if you do that, those are things that words to live by. And if you start seeing duplicates repetitively, other cover honorees are saying the same thing, make a little star beside that and make that part of your everyday practice in business.
And the rest of the editorial content is made up of
contributing
writers.
We have about 45 submissions every month, and only about 25
make the magazines. And we have another 20 or 30 requests. Would you like an article on this one? This one wants to be interviewed. They have a new company, new product. No, that's not how it works. It's all educational columns.
And we also have profiles about people that you need to know about.
And that's the Houston Minority Supplier Development Council, one of our strategic partners. We have one next month with the Women's Business Enterprise Alliance.
Right.
And we have one coming out on the Houston Metropolitan Chamber.
Right.
Organizations you need to know about that are there to help you build and grow your business.
And I said, for example, the Houston Minority Supplier Development Council is in Houston, but they have other minority supplier development councils all over the U.S.
That's right.
And they're all a member of that. So what you see here, Women Business Enterprise Alliance, those kind of organizations are nationwide.
Women Contractors Association,
those are
National
nationwide
Association of Minority Contractors. We have so much support and so many great organizations to help minority-owned business, women-owned business, veteran-owned businesses, that this is truly the most fertile ground to start and grow a business here in Houston. But if you're not in Houston, look for those resources elsewhere.
And by the way, our Houston Public Library, you can access online, and they have wonderful business resources.
Absolutely. So you can get a digital subscription, still complimentary until we convert over the website and give it a couple months.
And that's it. SBTmagazine.net or smallbusinessdaymagazine.com.
And you can also still research all the back issues and read the success stories, get great content, and also look at those words of advice, which is in every cover story.
Except for the very first one.
And we have a future cover honoree
right here. I mean, he's an all
stranger to the show.
He's all star.
That's right.
He's an all-star.
No stranger to the show, Maurice Evans. We met at the Night of Superstars several weeks ago,
and we were so overwhelmed with the quality of the individual. The heart and soul that he has is bigger than his own presence. That is really what was impressive about him. And that
he was on the show with Allie Evans,
right,
talking about an event this coming Friday, the Vine Uganda,
which is helping
people in Uganda, particularly community, find work and skills, and it was amazing.
And just a whole
and
community.
And then we had Gary Meacham,
which is his mother-in-law,
and she was also on talking about the. And they're sold out for this coming Friday.
Isn't that exciting?
So if you want a ticket, too bad, but you can still.
But you can still support or donate to the organization,
right.
And it's called. Can you tell me the website is Vine Uganda?
It's hopefulevent.com.
Hopeful
event.
With two L's. HOPEFULL event.com. Is that right?
It's correct. And the reason we bring on these nonprofits and organizations because they're doing good for mankind. They're doing good for other people, and we support that.
And exactly, every cover honoree shares the one thing in common that everyone I've interviewed share, that the to be out giving back. And so that's an integral part of a successful business owner, is making sure they give back to the community. And we always like to believe that everybody should be supporting their own local not-for-profits. So wherever you are, you need to support a local not-for-profit that's not nationwide supported.
We say all the time that it's easy for Coca-Cola or HEB or Shell to write a $10,000, $5,000 check. But when you're a small business owner and you're looking, do I buy groceries or do I give a donation? Do I donate my time? Do I donate my resources? The answer is yes. There is a link between one's generosity and their success. And the reason every one of these cover honorees has that, because that's a criteria that you have to demonstrate your generosity,
right,
and your philanthropy, whether it means your name's on an event or you just do it because it's the right thing to do. And I met with Maurice before, right after that he bid on the silent auction package, and he started talking about the things he's involved with. I said, there's something that we could help with. There's something we want to put in the spotlight, which is how we got those shows, and we've done.
How much time do we have right now?
We got about 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
All right, Maurice, I want to introduce Maurice Evans. He is.
We're not going to get through the whole.
I know, but I want you to. Can you talk about your background? You went to private school, or talk about that. That he's, even though he's a professional NBA player.
Sure. I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I went to a private school. Been blessed and fortunate to have earned a scholarship, full ride scholarship, originally at Wichita State University. Transferred after 2 years. Had a lot of individual success. I was recruited countrywide, and I'm one of only 3 players in the history of that school to have scored 1,000 points in the first 2 seasons. And I ended up transferring, opened up my recruitment, and I ended up choosing University of Texas, which was a major blessing because it's one of the largest alumni groups in the country. Met a lot of great people and played in the NBA for 11 years, and was blessed to just again be able to be exposed to a lot of entrepreneurs, as you guys have spoken about, from an early age. And now I'm able to, just really bless a lot of other people with, the doors that God's opened for me, and with the opportunities, the acumen, and the things I've learned along the way.
Which was the first NBA team you were?
Minnesota Timberwolves. Most people think that my career started, with the Sacramento Kings because I played for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Though I only played in 10 games that first season. I sat behind the bench for 72 games.
No, my.
And then I went, to Europe for 2 years, where my career really blossomed while I was there in Europe.
Well, you also got involved in the, I guess, more, I want to say, political, the business aspect, which is dealing with unions, the players, and that kind of thing. How did you get involved in being the position you were? Was the vice president of the Players Association?
Correct. It was a blessing. Again, I was elected by my peers to represent them in negotiations and to be the vice president of the Players Association. And I was the only player in the entire negotiations to have attended every single meeting. And Billy Hunter is one of my biggest mentors. He ran the union for 17 years, and it was just a blessing to be able to learn from him and be able to help a lot of our players achieve record numbers. I mean, this year, within the first 4 days, they achieved record highs in terms of contracts. More than $1.5 billion was rewarded in the first 4 days of free agency as a result of that contract that we negotiated.
Wow. That's wonderful.
Awesome. We've got about a minute, but there's more of Maurice's story to tell. More on Mo when we come back. He's got a terrific background, and he's got an upcoming book coming out in February, and it'll be our February cover honoree. So we're going to come back with Maurice Evans, veteran NBA player and entrepreneur extraordinaire with 8 of his own companies, and we're going to talk to him in just a minute after these messages. And you're listening to Small Business Magazine Talk Show
on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.
Hello, I'm Paul Marcus, owner of Affordable Searches, your premier investigation company specializing in comprehensive background checks nationwide. Business owners know one of the most important things to do is the hiring of employees. However, If you make mistakes or you don't check them out thoroughly, this could lead to problems. Some of the problems may be unsafe business environment, possible violence in the workplace, negligent hiring, lawsuits, and a turnover of employees. Our website has a wealth of information for you to read and learn how to run the correct background checks. We are also available for free consultations at 1-877-685-6691. Visit our testimonials page to see what our current customers say about us.
And welcome back to Small Business Today Magazine Talk Show
on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.
And our guest today is Mr. Maurice Evans, and he's no stranger to the show. Been on a couple of weeks ago with Allie Evans and talking about a big event coming up this coming Friday night that is sold out.
And that's HopefulEvent.com.
That's with 2 L's, right?
Right.
HopefulEvent.com.
And that's
benefiting
the Vine
Truly
Uganda
Ministries and their charity, which is Vine Uganda.
That's right.
So how's I got all that right this time? How to say it true?
Have you been to Uganda?
I've never been to Uganda. I have been to Africa, though. I went to Kenya. Allie and I actually went to Kenya back when I was, again, vice president of the Player Association. We went with Feed the Children, and we fed over 1 million people, which was an amazing opportunity. And that's where, her heart really opened up to, just to those missions and opportunities there. And they're actually legal guardian to 15, children. And the event is actually the charities. The monies raised will go to expand upon, the school that they have. It's at capacity right now. So those 15 orphans right now will get great treatment, services, and support going forward. As, again, being legal guardian, you don't get to just pass them off. You're the legal guardian until they age out at the age of 18.
And in places like that, countries, there's no public education. They have to go to private schools for them to have any education. Is that correct?
Correct. And so, again, it's an awesome cause, and we're thankful that, again, God sent the right people to be a part of it and to support.
Well, it's got a lot of people coming. A lot of celebrities going to be there Friday night. We're looking forward to
Robert Horry is being honored.
Yeah,
right?
Robert Horry has been honored for his community endeavors, and unfortunately his daughter passed from an illness a while ago, and so he has a heart to serve, and so again it was a blessing to be for all the different connections. And I want to thank Small Business Today for your help in spreading the message and just all the support that you guys have garnered just in the short time we've known one another. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. We're delighted. We're
delighted to be part of it, and looking forward to it. We've invited a few special people
that we hope will help
join us.
Also benefit by their presence,
and people you can go back to as well.
Exactly. So tell me, okay, you got in the Players Association. I mean, you were the vice president. I know there's got to be positives, but there's also got to be negatives because the burden's put on you to get things done. How did that affect you? Did it cause any problems or rifts by you being vice president?
Sure. I mean, there's always consequences associated to certain actions and or strengths and weaknesses, as I would say, but the strengths far outweigh the negatives, and just some of the challenges that we face were obviously trying to lead 450 men, and unite them behind one common cause is a lot more challenging than what the owners would face as being, a group of 30 individuals who are, really wealthy. They're cultured. They're tons of business acumen, as you know, and it's easier for those guys to work in tandem than for, our unseasoned players who didn't quite always understand and have the correct information to be able to make the right decisions. And that was the biggest challenge that we faced.
Yeah, I think that even there are certain players. I mean, with any team, there's only going to be a handful of stars for a team, and then everybody else supports those stars. And it's those other guys, they're the ones that don't get those big contracts locked in. And so, I mean, you've got to serve those people that are they're really without the stars is nothing. You got to have the team behind those stars. You don't have a game.
I mean, everybody has a role to fill, and I mean that's. that was where Mr. Hunter confided the most trust in me, and so did the peers. Is that it was a blessing that God allowed me to have be articulate enough to resonate with both the stars and the journeyman players alike, because everybody played a role, and success is the sum of its parts. And so not any one of those players can sustain the NBA by itself, nor can the owners. And what we did is we united, and instead of focusing on grabbing and at the pie, we focused on enlarging the pie. There was more than enough opportunity for everyone to succeed in that space.
Have you? I know you actually, when you started playing professional basketball, you had not got your college degree, and you had to go back and do that. I commend you that you went back and got your degree. What's that degree in?
My degree is in education, but interestingly enough, my major was entrepreneurship at Wichita State. But when I transferred, they didn't have that major, and so that's always been one of my underlying passions. But education, as God would have it, I'm also a teacher. And that's where I guess the works well in tandem, is that I really like to help individuals to reach their full potential, and to be able to do that, you have to have literacy. The literacy is kind of what you and Steve were speaking about. Is a lot of people aren't naturally born into entrepreneurship. They might be born with the entrepreneurial prowess, but most people are kind of fall into entrepreneurship by
creative people.
Yeah,
they're business people.
Out of necessity,
right?
Though most people get into it out of necessity.
Have you ever thought? I know you don't want to go back to school, but have you ever thought
She
of
has
going?
an idea.
Yeah, I think you should go further and get a degree in law, and deal with the business aspect of sports too.
No, I think it's I do love the business aspect, and to believe it or not, you don't even have to have a law degree to be a sports agent and to be effective in that space. Unfortunately, one of the things with the NBA, we wanted to try and heighten the barriers to because there's so many agents and there's not enough players. And so in the NFL, they've heightened those barriers, and you have to now have a master's degree or 7 years worth of negotiating experience to be an agent, a registered agent. For us, you just have to have a college degree. You have to pass a background check, pay $1,500, and you're an NBA agent. So nothing qualifies you to be able to represent these players, and a lot of them are being led astray as a result. And it's a challenge.
I don't think that just applies to NBA either. I saw some dealing with a lot of football players and having the travel agency. I saw some that were not getting the proper direction or the proper contracts or taken care of, sent away to go play in Canada, get injured, and then they come back and say, well, we'll only let you play, but if you get injured, we're not covering it. Those kind of things they weren't properly represented. And don't you think every player has to have or should have some kind of legal representation, whether they're in NBA or NFL or any sports?
I think that they need even more than that. I think that they need a complete life team around them. These players a lot of times are only the experts in that one particular vertical, which is their sport, NFL, NBA, and believe it or not, even you age out of that still has a shelf life. So a lot of these players are relying upon individuals to then help them succeed in other areas that, people claim to be the experts, and you can't validate or verify that information, and then they get led astray. And, unfortunately, in professional sports, the shelf life is too small in order for you to try to make those mistakes. You really get one bite of the apple. And so a lot of times, 65% of our players in the NBA file bankruptcy within 5 years. 80% file bankruptcy in the NFL within 2 years. And that's not just poor investments. That's just the lack of literacy and the fact that, they're not literate.
They come into unbelievable money real early on, and they just don't know how to handle it. And they think it's going to live forever. And one busted knee or hip or something, and man, it's over, right?
Yeah, definitely the literacy piece, financial literacy is obviously huge, because most of them are first generation wealth, and then a lot of them are also first generation education. But because so few actually get their degree, then it's like Barbara said, that's a major weakness and a major vulnerability area for them. But the other thing is relational. Just the relational literacy. Most people aren't literate in their marriages and relationships, so we got a 90% divorce rate in the NBA as a result.
Oh my!
And so now, at the end of your career, you get divorced. Half your net worth goes out the window when your earning potential is at its smallest. So now they don't have transferable skills to go into another industry, and they're left with degrading social equity, I guess you can say, that's going out the window. With every passing day, someone else is coming behind them, replacing the things that they thought were great feats at once upon a time. So it's sad to try and live off of yesterday's glory. And it's unfortunate, but that's what the whole book is about. Is just kind of help.
That's the book, Every Level of Success, right?
Tell me the name of the book again.
Every Level of Success.
Every Level of Success. Has it come out yet, or when is it coming out?
No, it won't be out until February. I've been pretty intentional about perfecting and updating and not over. One of the three things that I talk about that challenges most people is perfectionism, people pleasing, and procrastination. And so I haven't done those things, but I've just tried to refine it and make it relevant to not only athletes but also to entrepreneurs and anybody who really wants to reach their full potential.
Where'd the motivation for the book come from?
It came from me not having those tools myself. Even being the vice president of the Players Association, even being investing in multiple companies, and I felt that there were so many areas of exposure in my own life, and I wasn't satisfied when my marriage was failing, and I didn't have the tools and the resources to save it. And then I didn't have the spiritual background because I overinvested into one vertical, into being this great basketball player, but I didn't invest enough into my spiritual growth. I didn't invest into myself enough to be the man that I need to be for my family and for the businesses that I had invested in and things of that nature. So I documented it, and out of it came a book.
Well, I know my own personal observation of delivering tickets to, I had the most exposure to working with the Houston Oilers, all the personal travel I did for the fellows. And there's somebody, I call them vultures, just vultures that they hover around them. You have your vampires and your vultures. You have the ones that are pecking at them. I mean, but it's true. It really is. The women that fall all over them and direct them into the wrong direction, sadly, getting them involved in drugs. It's
and other things.
Yeah, because you have groupies everywhere. Anybody that's famous, whether it's a president, and just about every president that's ever been in position except for Truman has had a mistress. It just goes with the territory.
It's a challenge for me as an executive producer.
I know. It's so bad.
What do you call my lady friends?
Yeah, your flavors of the week. He has his flavors of the week. Yeah, I don't care.
That's an honor. That's an honor for those ladies that are involved.
But the thing is that when one is in the presence of the public, they become idolized, and everybody throws themselves at them. And so with it, if they don't have the maturation to deal with it, and who does? Number one, when someone goes away to college, you have no idea what you want to do in life. Maybe you would be a professional basketball player, those very few get to be get to that point, that level, and it takes a certain mentality to get to that point. And we want to talk more about the mentality because I think it's a very unique mentality that makes anyone get to become the professional NBA or NFL player. I think it's something sets them apart, but it also can be a negative factor too. I want to talk more about that. But
we've got to go to break, and we're talking to
Can
Maurice.
I break you?
You're talking to Maurice Evans, NBA veteran and entrepreneur extraordinaire, as principal of
put the mic in front of you, Steve.
Upcoming cover honoree for Small Business Today magazine in February, and has become a very dear friend very quickly. And we're pleased to have him back on the show again today. We want to give a shout out to Jerome Davis, engineer extraordinaire, and also
on the keyboard
there, and Ron Coleman with
MovieWhip.com. Right.
For your video and dancing pleasure.
Well, I mean, he does so much more than his services he offers. Of course, traditional videography, his company does that. They can do movie quality work, but he also specializes in someone that maybe is trying to publicize their own business and doing search engine optimization.
Absolutely. And he's great at it, and that's MovieWhip.com.
That's right.
With Mr. Ron Coleman. And we'll be right back after these messages, and you're listening to Small Business Today Magazine Talk Show on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.
At Affordable Searches, our mission is to provide our customers with the most thorough background check possible to protect you, your employees, and also your business. We do so by contracting with companies across the country that provide us with the best information possible and in a quick turnaround time. Our turnaround times average anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. Our pricing is very competitive, and we are always here for you. We're always here to answer any questions you have. Please give us a call at 1-877-685-6691, and we'll be glad to answer each and every question that you have.
And welcome back to Small Business Today Magazine Talk Show
on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.
While we've had some technical adjustments with our sound equipment here, and whether I'm in the right place or not, we got that settled. Luckily, you're a good.
Well, he sees two mics anyway. That's the problem.
Well, that has nothing to do with it.
He's got double vision.
You keep moving it. I think you got the double vision. But we're with special guest Maurice Evans, NBA veteran. Vice President of the NBA Players Association.
Entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur extraordinaire.
Principal in 8 different companies, and that may be expanding. And has a new book coming out.
Now, tell me the name of the book again.
Every Level of Success.
Every Level of Success.
The byline is a little bit more to it than that. The journey of a
recovering NBA player.
I like that.
Recovering
NBA player.
Recovering.
When you said
that,
like
you're still getting over it.
Yeah,
it's got to be very hard. I love sports. I'm 63 years old, right? And if I didn't need the hip replacement, I'd be wanting to be playing. I mean, I'll go out and play every day because I love sports. And so if you love it, it's got to be very hard to not be the one that's in there with the team and working that interaction of being with teammates. It's a whole way of level of life. It's a whole social microorganism. I mean, it's your own. Like I said, it's got to be hard. How do you deal with not being part of the team?
Anything you invest an extraordinary amount of time in, especially over a long period of time, is obviously it's difficult, and you have your angst at times, but. I didn't overstay. I mean, God blessed me with a number of years, and I had the right perspective at the time to know when it was time to transition. Now, one of the things that I told myself long ago is that I never wanted to be a player who was chasing contracts. And we've all seen players that we've really loved in particular sports or even entertainers who kind of overstayed their welcome, and it just, they damage their legacy and their brand as a result. And, I really value being a father, a husband, an entrepreneur, and all the things that I'm doing now. That was great for the time in the season. It's set up everything I'm doing right now.
When you talk about recovering, go into depth about the word using recovering in your.
Sure. So the word recovering for me means that, for one, there's a lot of entitlement associated with success, as we all know.
Right.
And a wise person once told me that compliments should be, sniffed, not inhaled. And I believe that, as a result of having that success there, you have to be very intentional and tactful about remaining humble, about having the right optic, taking the right perspective into the ventures and opportunities, because if you don't, it's easy to get out of balance, and I've done that at times in my life, and as a result, there's been heavy consequences that I've paid, and I said I would never go back that road again as a result of my own arrogance or entitlement. So I want to teach others who are successful how to sustain success over time. I think that's one of the challenges most people face, not just getting there, but sustaining it.
They're really, and I know at least with NFL, even though they talk about they have their religious groups that are fellowship Christian athletes and that kind of thing that would work with them. They'd have spiritual things, but it didn't. Once they left the facility, Jenny barred the door. They things, crazy stuff going on. People hitting them up with this, and you need to do this, and you need to that. Everybody's telling them this. It needs, to me,
build them up, then hit them up.
Yeah, I mean, then once they leave that facility, wherever they're working at, and they're on their own, it's like, how do you recommend how a team should be insulating the players more? Don't you think they need to do more to protect them when they leave the court, when they leave the facility?
I mean, I believe there's certain things that the teams could obviously and organizations could do better to help improve the overall state of the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, etc. But it's also onus on the players. I mean, one of the challenges with those organizations, whereas they're very well intended, the challenge is most times we had only 15 minutes for chapel. And most of us had demands upon our time, being that we had routines that we had to adhere to. Coaches coming in telling us what we had to do. So you might only get 3 minutes in chapel, or you might get 10 minutes. In your mind is there's a lot of demands on your time, and that's one of the biggest challenges that I see for professional athletes and for people in general is that it takes the same way they say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes success is truly the sum of its parts, and you are only experts in those verticals. So you need a life team around you. Most people don't have a life team that really help hold them accountable so that they can be successful in these different areas and that they can accept true counsel from a trusted source when we're not really optimizing that success.
I want to ask a question totally off the wall, and that's how your life team growing up, mom and dad, how
Sure.
much of an influence were they on the man you are today?
My parents were instrumental and influential, and even a lot of times by default. My parents were very blue collar workers. They sacrificed a lot for my sister and I to get the education that we got, and I seen them labor. I seen my parents make a lot of mistakes as a result of not having that life team that I spoke about. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know. So my parents did the best they could with what they had. And as a result, it's only by the favor and the prayers and the blessings that God had upon our family's lives that we ended up getting here. I got baptized at 15 years of age, and no one told me what type of temptation I was going to face as a professional athlete and the things that I was going to be exposed to, and why I needed to really bolster that support and really be even deeper rooted to be able to stand up under those metrics, and that's where a lot of the challenges and results are. And so when you speak about the FCAs and the other religious organizations, I think it's something that needs to be said for these players are facing different levels of success that most people can never even fathom in their lifetime.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. They need to have something more tailored to insulating and educating them once they leave. Like this should be, they need to be almost another school. A school for professional athletes, that once you're at this point, you have to be going to these classes after work. You've got life skills huh? About beware of the vultures.
And that's something
Maurice
is working on.
Well, the great thing is what I do is that I did come up with a curriculum that actually helps these individuals to transition in and out of the sport. And so a lot of times these players, like we said, I don't want to be redundant. They don't know what it is that they think they know, and a lot of times, players and people, success. There's statistics that support. When the more success we have, the less people go to church, the less people listen, and those are all barriers. People don't know what's attacking their success, and so what we do is again we help them increase their literacy across multiple verticals, and we just slowly expose them to success and take a more of a holistic approach to doing so.
What I was going to talk about, and something I observed, there's how many NBA players total that are play normally through every season? If you add them up, what's the total number?
There's only 450 players that can play in a given season. In most teams, there's only 30 teams, so you can take off 30 players, so that takes you down to 420 because most people want to have roster flexibility in case of injury or a trade, or and then a few economic reasons they're going to take off another 30, so that puts you at about 390 because most people don't want to pay for additional players that aren't going to play. There's only 5 that can play on the court at one time,
right.
So and they choose from all over the world. They just don't choose from the state of Texas or the state of Kansas. You're contending in the NBA space for people who are all over the world who are living off a hope, a wish, and a dream to try and get there. That's why the statistics of making it to be a professional athlete are so staggering. So to me, and what I've observed, that the same drive, that inner drive that compels that person to be better than, that's 1 percentile, also
is a hindrance in making them go over extreme in their other things when they leave the court, when they leave the field, is that same problem of not knowing, this overkill, I guess is kind of what it is, overkill in everything they do. And so it goes with the territory that it's almost part of the nature, to very temptation for people to get into drugs because they're doing everything overly, because to be that 1%, they've got to be something superhuman in everything they do. And but the negative part is those things that maybe make them more susceptible to the other part, the bad part of the business of being in professional sports.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, the players have all of the tools to succeed, hence is why they make it pro. But whereas they don't sustain that success over time is because those tools are only relevant to that one situation. In order to be able to make those tools now and those skills transferable, you have to go get the literacy component. You have to continue to invest in yourself. And the reality is that no one has enough time. I mean, the book, they talk about 10,000 hours to master a skill. No one has that type of time to go invest in every vertical of life to be successful without neglecting normal things in our lives. So that's why, hence, the life team is so important. Instead of me going out to try and go get a degree to become now a doctor and master my health, I need to go have people who have that expertise that are a part of my team, right? Just like in legal services and financial services and things of that nature. That's why you insulate and protect yourself against success.
Is have that whole team. Who's the book most directed to?
It's directed towards anyone who wants to reach their full potential across any vertical in life. And I focus on 5 in particular, but anybody who wants to optimize your success in your spiritual growth, your relationships, your entrepreneurship. I mean, just even in your personal development. I think it's obviously I wrote it, so I'm somewhat partial and biased, but I didn't write it from the perspective of I'm Maurice Evans and I succeeded and this is why you need to listen to me. I think that's one of the challenges with most athletes and successful people who write books. It's so narrow and it's only focuses on them. And it's not written, for a wide demographic of people across multiple verticals. What I did is I shared best practices. The same way you guys have these many great entrepreneurs, I took a lot of the things that most people who have deposited into me over time that has helped them be successful, along with the proprietary things that God's allowed me to use to succeed. And then I tried to help other people use that to stimulate what's helping them succeed in their lives.
I want to ask you, back to Mom and Dad, what did they deposit in you, and what do you want to deposit in Reese and Roman?
No, that's a great question. My parents deposited in me.
I just want to show your dad I can ask good questions. She's not really well, right?
Nah, I mean, it's great. My parents definitely instilled up in me, a strong sense of worth ethic, but they also, more importantly, instilled in me the importance of having a spiritual foundation and honoring God as our source and not man. And so that's the same things that I will deposit into my children. If you leave more to your children than you leave in your children, and what you leave to them might kill them. And, I believe that, again, I'm building out generational wealth so that my family can have a legacy, and we can have a legacy obviously founded upon the principles of God. But I want to teach them how to, help other people reach their full potential and just multiply the seeds and be good stewards of what God has given them.
Are there any books that help parents that know their child's going to be one of these superstars, and they know they're probably going to get a scholarship to college?
Every parent wants their...
No, but some are, you kind of know. I mean, some are, breaking records already, and they're in junior high. And so there's an idea. Is there any organizations and stuff or books, will your book be able to help a parent how to protect their child from, by the time they make it to college and go to professional, if there's something they can do to prepare themselves and educate their own selves as the parents? Because it starts with the parents, and they're the ones that may not have the wherewithal. They don't have the worldliness to know what their child is going to encounter once they go to higher levels, right?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge with our society right now is everyone wants a quick fix, a microwave blessing. We want it right now, instead of being willing to go through processes, systems, and changes. And so, the book is most definitely, it's broken into 4 different sections. It's 12 lessons that will help people succeed across the multiple verticals as we spoke about. But the first 3 lessons speak to your foundation, to who you are. Okay. The next 3 speaks to where it is you're going. The next 3 speaks to who's going with you. So strategic partners, relationships, things of that nature. And the last 3 speak to sustaining it over time, building out legacy. So I do believe that, these lessons will help families to be better parents, but also being a better parent starts with being a better spouse. Most people, they over-attach to their kids, and they forget that the most important element, God never told them to over-attach. He said, be fruitful and multiply. He didn't say, live vicariously through little Johnny as he's trying to go make it pro. He said, for this reason, you should leave your mother and father and become one flesh. And there's so many principles in the book, and it's just the first of a series, to be honest with you.
Have you thought of having an actual workbook as a companion to your book?
Ooh,
Sure. We have a curriculum that literally goes alongside of it. So this book is really just highlighting the tools and the resources that are spoken out in the curriculum. So the curriculum speaks to corporations, it speaks to universities, it also speaks to schools. And as a speaker, I've been blessed to go into all these different platforms, and people ask me all these questions. The number one question I get is how did you succeed? How did you do it? How did you know you could do it? And so really I wrote it from the perspective of helping people find their winning space and optimize that over time.
I think, would you say the biggest, most important thing is to have passion in what you do?
I would say that to know who your source is, to get rooted. I mean, if you got passion, like passion mismanaged can as you said, can really lead you out of balance. And,
right.
and the things is most people not knowing who your source is, they put stock and value into the job. And so now when your brand becomes synonymous with Apple or AT&T because you work there, well, when that's taken away and you no longer work there, now you don't know who you are. And that's the challenge to me, is that most people, they don't know who they are and they don't know who their source is. Until you know the day, why the 2 most important dates in your life, you will never be successful. And the 2 most important dates is, when you were born and the day why you were born.
Good point. If you were going to give, a component, most important piece of the magazine, I think, is the takeaway notes and best practices, etc. 2 different scenarios. One, if you were addressing the takeaway notes for parents who have children who want to be professional sports people, what would those takeaway notes be? What would your best words of wisdom for those parents be? Or you can do for the kids, either one.
I think the parents is more important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so many obviously takeaways I could give, but if I'm speaking to parents, I would first tell them that they have to be able to see what a hero looks like in their own homes. The heroes need to be the moms and dads, not just the athletes and other people who they're looking up to. They need to be able to model and see that emulated in their own household, so that their children can then learn how to be in relationship with one another. And so first, instead of delegating that task to someone else, and they can only do that if you, again, show them across those different verticals that it's important to succeed on holistically and not just in these individual verticals. And I would just tell the parents, to build an authentic, genuine relationship with your children. Discipline without relationship is what leads to rebellion. So if you deposit, and spend time with your children, then they will get the medicine, regardless of whether they take it right away. They will get the medicine, and that's what's going to be most important.
My mother always would say, if everybody jumped off a cliff, would you do that too? Would that make sense? She said it's better to be independent and be different and stand on your own and use your own brains than to follow others and be falling off cliffs. And so having confidence, it's hard, especially when kids are going through puberty and stuff, to feel good about themselves and identity, who they are. So I guess, what would you say about, somebody just having spiritual foundation too for parents is definitely, I think, important to their kids have spirituality and know who they are and respect themselves, self-respect.
You said it best. I mean, it says in the Bible, train the children up in the way that they should go and they never depart. So that has to be taught at home. And I mean, again, you got to unplug from all this social media and technology and have times where you actually spend time with your children. The average family watches 34 hours of television, and the average American over the age 2 watches 34 hours of television a week.
Wow.
You got people that spend on average 2 hours a day on social media, different platforms. When you have that, you couple that with going to school, going to work, there's little time left over to actually, deposit anything into the families, and that's where we're going wrong. We have to get back to being in relationship with one another and allowing God to be the spiritual covering for these families.
Great words of advice. Great
Fantastic.
stuff. We've got to go to another break. We're talking with Maurice Evans, veteran NBA player and author of upcoming book, Every Level of Success, his journey as a recovering NBA player, with great words of advice for parents of future professional athletes and to business people and entrepreneurs. We're going to get more into kind of some of his takeaway notes on business and entrepreneurship when we come back. And you're listening to Small Business Today Magazine Talk Show on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.
Are you looking for a professional film production company that will record and direct the production of your film for any business, talent, product, or service? MovieWhip.com has professionals that will get your production done. If you have a business, talent, product, or service that you believe to be a knockout, MovieWhip will not only film your production, but will edit, put it on the internet, and maintain it so that it may be searched and found at the top of search engines. When a customer sees your commercial online, they have an option to click on a link to direct them to your contact page we create for you that is hosted on MovieWhip.com. All of your film productions, contact info, and a form email will be displayed on your MovieWhip page. Your videos will be searchable towards the top of the most popular search engines with keyword search optimization. You may also share your MovieWhip page link with whomever you want to view your film production.
Welcome back to Small Business Today Magazine Talk Show
on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.
And
why are you're over here? He's like, hello.
Because I'm trying to look at the
put
camera,
the mic
Barbara.
in front of you. You're like, you moved it all the way over to your...
Because you keep moving it.
Move
Okay.
it in front of you,
Barbara,
Goofy.
wasting time.
Move it more in
We're
front
with
of
our
you.
friend Maurice Evans, a veteran NBA player and principal in 8 different companies, authoring a book that's due out this coming February on Every Level of Success, the story of a recovering NBA player. He's got great words of advice on our show today for both. Thank you for the parents of aspiring sports celebrities and business owners and parents and great words of wisdom. Great stuff. I'm really, really pleased with what he shared with us. The book should be terrific.
I know. It's going to be a wonderful book. We're going to have a big party, book party, autograph party.
That's right.
Tell me, what would you like to say that we haven't covered? Is there anything special you want to bring up that maybe something important to you?
I guess we can just again thanking you guys again for the hopeful event, obviously, and there's not much else I think that we've left uncovered. I mean, we talked about every level of success, the business. We've talked about every level of success, the book, and again, the business model is simply to engage individuals, influencers, entrepreneurs, corporations, and help them, mitigate risk and exposure and optimize success. And optimizing success is literally helping you sustain your success over time. So that's what we specialize in.
And your takeaway notes for your February issue, what would be 5 things you tell aspiring entrepreneurs? 5 things would be probably difficult to come up with on the fly, but I would tell them that success again is the sum of its parts. No one company ever gets there by themselves. I can't stand the terms of self-made millionaires and self-made entrepreneurs. You have to rely upon your customers, your patrons. I mean, the biggest companies in the world are comprised of so many logistics and individuals who help support them and build comprised of their infrastructure. So make sure that you again dot your I's and cross your T's, and just make sure that you always respect the business sector, because it's a beast, and it will eat you up if you underestimate it. The biggest things that most people do is that they the reason why most people fail, in my opinion, is that they underestimate life, and experience has a way of making things that are difficult look easy. So make sure that you have experienced individuals who you consult with on a regular basis, and always stay ahead of innovation. Things get outdated. Information in the world doubles every 24 months. So, understand that, our protocols, our procedures, all those things are constantly aging out, and we have to stay current and relevant. And the only way you can do that is through relationships and being relational, not being transactional or relying too heavily on digital. So keep it relational.
I'm going to just get a new husband, that younger one, and then that'll help.
Anyway, but what I hear you say is family is most important. And have a strong base of faith. Have life coaches, have people there to help you. We don't have
experts in other areas.
In other areas, indeed.
Right, that's what you said.
Surround yourself. As we put together a publisher advisory board, I don't have all the answers. I'm not sure what the questions are. But right, surround yourself with the right people who understand your mission and are there to support you in any way they can.
Yeah, have like-minded people that are in the same. They may have a different experience, but they all have the same desire for the ultimate goal.
Great show today with Maurice Evans, and hopefully he'll be back when, if not before, certainly when he's on the cover of the magazine and when he launches his book. We're happy to help you do that, and the web and get.
Have you gotten
website.
Photographs for the cover yet?
Yeah, I did. I got I'm not sure if I'm gonna go with it, but I really. Pretty sure that that's going to be the cover. It's just a picture of myself in my uniform. The last team I played for, the Washington Wizards, it says Evans on the back, and it's my son looking over my shoulder, because it's really about sustaining legacy. It's so much bigger than me. So, and I love that it captures the present, but it also captures the future.
I like that. I think that's wonderful.
And great show today. Thank you, Mo, for joining us today once again. We look forward to the event on Friday night at the Hotel Derrick.
We want to thank
Uganda.
Our Sales Nexus, Craig Klein with salesnexus.com. That's a CRM.
Paul Marcus, Tony Noun.
Paul Marcus, affordablesearches.com. Tony Noun with autoshopper.biz. I'll get all these right.
Thank you again, Ron Coleman.
Moviewhip.com.
And Jerome Davis. And the audio for this show will be up right after we end this show if you missed it. And video hopefully within 24 to 48 hours, YouTube video, thanks to Ron Coleman.
And don't forget hopefulevent.com.
And that's 2 L's, event.com. And get involved with it, and maybe make a reservation for next year already.
Or donate.
That's right. And you've been listening to Small Business Magazine Talk Show on the SBT Magazine Radio Network.